You're listening to Bigfoot Society, and I'm Jeremiah Byron. Tonight's story is about a man lured into the woods by the sound of a dog in pain, and what happened was rock throws, growls, and something that knew exactly where he lived, and it didn't stop in the forest. It left gifts, and it left marks. And it might be responding to a frequency that you've never heard of. This is the story of Chris Reinhardt and what happens when Bigfoot starts throwing pine cones. So stay with us. Information provided in this episode is for entertainment purposes only. All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got the privilege of talking to Chris Reinhardt today. He's an individual from Connecticut. We are going to be talking to him about Bigfoot, of course, today. He's an investigator looking into the Bigfoot phenomenon really all over the place. I know he's gone to a few cool places, so he's not just out there in Connecticut, and we might talk about that later. He's gone to a few other cool places as well. But welcome to the show, Chris. How's it going today?
Oh, very well. Thanks for having me, Jeremiah.
Absolutely. You know, Chris, you're an individual I've wanted to talk to you for a long time because you do come up every so often in other conversations I have with people, and I was watching some of Doug's shows on Snell Grove Lake, and I believe you were up there recently too with the gang. So you kind of pop in and out everywhere, which is cool. But you know, Chris, someone like yourself, where you've been in it for a few years, would you be able to share what got you into the Bigfoot field to begin with?
So I've been doing this for like 10 years now, and believe it or not, it was YouTube that got me interested in the Bigfoot. I really didn't even know that there were people other than you saw on TV that were actually investigating Bigfoot in the forest. And I always had a fascination with Bigfoot my whole childhood growing up. And I was a believer. And when I got rid of my cable TV and started streaming, my son-in-law told me about YouTube. And I knew nothing, I knew nothing about YouTube, I knew nothing about streaming. And so I put in Bigfoot, and this whole world opened up to me. And I followed a few people, and I'm like, hey, why can't I go do what they're doing here in Connecticut and see what I can find? And 10 years later, I've had some quite the experiences. So I owe it all to YouTube to where I am, where I've gotten to today, I guess.
That's awesome. It's very similar to when you talk to the guys, the guys who got started back when the internet first came into households, and they're like, they were just typing Bigfoot into the basic internet, and YouTube is kind of its own thing. It's its own animal with how many shows and researchers are on that platform. But do you have, I believe you've come up maybe about, was it American Legion State Forest? Did you have some involvement with that in Connecticut?
Yeah, one of my areas is actually in People's Forest. It's right next to the American Legion. They're side by side. They're just two different names, but it's the same forest, the same woods. And I have an area called Rock Throw Alley. Everybody gives their areas a name, so you can, when you make your videos, people know where you're at. Or I guess that was the thing that I learned to do when I was investigating. Just easier to keep track of where you got stuff going on. And so yeah, Rock Throw Alley is actually in People's State Forest here in Connecticut, northwest corner.
That's awesome. And that came up. I talked to a researcher. His name was Tom Sheehan. I'm going to say it wrong. Tom Sheehan. I know I'm saying that wrong so bad. It's episode 576. I apologize, Tom. It's been a while.
From North Carolina, right?
Yeah. You know who I'm talking about. Yep,
yeah, he came up here, and we went. He brought me to the spot where he had his interaction, and but we never made it up to my spot that day. But I got together him when he was here, so that's pretty interesting.
So, Chris, when you were first getting into it, maybe 8 years ago, was there a point where you had some kind of interaction in the woods where it really pushed you over the edge and you were like, okay, I just went from 99% to like 150%. Like, this is no turning back from this.
Right. So my very first interaction actually happened at People's State Forest, and we were actually lured into the woods by like my buddy got into it at the same time. His name is Mike Zajeski. And he got into it about the same time I did, and he was hiking by himself, the day before, and he found these weird tree structures, and he got home that night and called me up and said, "Hey, we got to go check these out." So we went out the next day, and we're fresh. I mean, I just started. I had a cell phone and a notebook. That's all we brought. We didn't know about, we didn't have FLIR cameras or camcorder. We had nothing. And we went in the woods to check out these structures, and while we were there, we heard this dog whimpering noise. And it sounded like a dog got hit by a car, like it was hurt. It was, that whimper, that oh, oh. And we're near a road. I mean, we're near the state forest, so there's roads around the state forest. So we figured a dog was hit and it was injured. So let's go check it out. So we go to the spot where we hear the whimper. And we get to the spot and there's nothing there. 50 feet in front of us to our left, we hear the whimper again. And so we figured the dog got scared, he's hurt, and he crawled away. So we go up to where that sound is, and we get there, and there's nothing there. We do it, I think, 2 to 3 more times. And then on the last time, my buddy tapped me on the shoulder. He goes, "Chris, whatever this is luring us into the forest. 50 feet by 50 feet by 50 feet by 50 feet. We are going back into the forest." So he says, "It's getting dark. We have no flashlights. Let's turn around and get back to the logging road, and then we can come back, another day." So we turned around and we didn't run, but we were walking as fast as we could through the foliage. We were off trail, and we got back out to the logging road, and we heard a growl thing like the. And we turned around, and this rock came flying through the foliage and landed right in back of me on the logging road. And we're like looking at each other. What is this? This is what the Sasquatch are reported to do, and they mimic and this and that. And we hightailed it back to the truck, and we got in the truck, and we were talking about it all the way home. And we're like, "Holy cow, what was that? What throws stones? And did we have a Sasquatch experience?" And after that was it for me. I was ready for it, and I have a traveling bone, and ever since then I go and try and see how I can see and hang out with who I can hang out with, and experience what we can. But that first interaction, that's what hooked me.
I could definitely see how that would hook you, no problem. And is this an area that you go back to? You've gone back to multiple times as well?
Oh yeah. I've been going there for 10 years. I had like 3 habituation spots here in Connecticut, and actually 2 of them out of the 3 have been sold, so I can't even go back to them. I had one called Larry's that I went to for 6 years, and we traded with whatever was living there, and it was quite the experience there too. But yeah, I've been that rock. That's how Rock Throw Alley actually got its name, was that rock throw that first day we were there. That's how we named it.
So it sounds like you then pretty quickly got involved with some pretty intense things. You had, gifting back and forth, different habituation sites. I have talked to a few people over the years, and I do notice patterns that start to arise. Was there ever a point where things started to get weird when you were involved with this research or going into these habituation areas?
Oh yeah, things it's progressed over the 10 years. It gets stranger and stranger the closer you get to the phenomena. I've had a coyote leg left at my back door, freshly ripped off the dog. My wife found it. And this had to do with the gifting area. I got sick, and we were trading with them for about 3 years, and I got sick, and my gallbladder went on me, and I couldn't make it up there for like 4 weeks. So on the 4th week, I came downstairs. I finally got back to work. My stomach finally healed, and my wife looks out the back window and she goes, "What is that down by the back door?" And I'm looking out. I'm like, "Geez, I don't know what that is." So I go downstairs and I open up the door, and there is a freshly ripped off the dog, blood, guts, gross, broken, just like freshly torn flesh off the hind leg of a coyote, left at my back door. And I'm like, I go upstairs, I tell her, I'm like, "Maria, you don't guess what this is, but it's a fresh coyote leg." And she's like, "Get rid of that thing. I don't want that thing here." And so I chucked it in the forest, and I went and I work where I live, so I went and got the guys that work for me, and I brought them back down here to show them the leg, and the leg was gone. Something took that leg. So that's when it started getting weird. When you get animal parts left at your back door, and my gifting area is not close here. It's not close. It's over 2 mountains. It's probably 10 miles away from here through the forest. So how it got here, and I can only guess that it's there. But then a structure showed up like 100 yards in the backyard too, a teepee structure that's still there to this day. Then that's when things started getting weird, when we figured out that they knew where you lived.
Well, that's the thing that people need to realize, is that if you start going, more oftentimes than not, if you start going into this field and you keep going, it will come back to your house in some way. And it is very, very interesting. I mean, I've heard a number of people say it's usually deer legs that are found on their property, deer legs ripped off, or headless animals, or animals with their necks broken, which is
rabbits. A lot of rabbits too.
Yeah, just really weird stuff. And I mean, sometimes even things start happening inside the house, which is, I don't even know how that would be related to Bigfoot, but is a pattern that I've seen. Is that anything where you've found things happening inside the house as well, or is it pretty much like it'll stop outside the border of the walls?
Oh yeah, no, we've had stuff happen inside the house. I had to have the house blessed twice. The kids, my grandchildren, were living with us, and they were seeing monsters. And they were seeing the monsters in the corner of the house, and they were seeing monsters at the top of the stairs, and they were seeing monsters everywhere. And then I woke up one day, and I had 3 scratches on the inside of my arm, and it all built up, and the house was very heavy, and even my wife will tell you if she was here. And I went up to my friend Al Santoriga's birthday party, and I told him what was going on. If you guys know who Al is, they call him the Squatch Father.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's like one of my best friends. He's the one that helps me with the weird because it has gotten very, very weird for me. And he told me, he's like, "Chris, you got something in your house." He says, "I don't know what it is, or something, you brought something home from somewhere." And this was after I returned from the Green Swamp in Florida. We had some crazy stuff go on down there with our phones, and it was wild, wild stuff. And he says, "You got to have your house blessed." So he set it up for us. He knew a priest that could come and do it, and they came, and they blessed the house. And my wife, even when they left, she goes, "I don't know what to expect from all this," but she says it's lighter in the house. It doesn't feel that heavy feeling. And I'm sitting down in my office, and I'm calling Al to thank him for having set this up for us. And my cat walks into my little office and jumps up on my lap. My cat would never, ever come in my office. The door would be wide open. He would walk by 100 million times and see me in there. It would kill him not to be able, but he would never go in there. After that day, that house was blessed. The house was blessed. The cat came right in my room. So I don't know what was here. But they said it was a Native American something or other. We went across something, and 3 of us that were there that day, I don't know how they knew all this stuff. And we're linked forever. And so I was with Chris Connor from the Trail of Bigfoot and his sister. And we, to this day, when he has stuff going on down at his place, he calls me and asks me if there's stuff going on up here. And most of the time, the activity is happening here and in Florida. So yeah, so that's happened twice. And then I've learned how to smudge my own house now. So I don't take that lightly anymore after the scratches.
That is really that's really concerning. When it was being reported that they're like monsters in the corners of the house, would they describe like what they saw at all, or do you think it was maybe shadow people, or do you have any ideas about that?
I think they were Bigfoot looking things.
Okay.
I really do, because they know about Bigfoot. They're around me. They've grown up around me. They've lived with us. They lived with us their first six years of their lives, and they're 6 and 4 now. I mean, the little one even has Bigfoot dolls that she takes to school with her. I mean, they know Bigfoot, and that's what I believe they were seeing. And they were calling them monsters, but they said they looked like monkeys. So I think they were afraid. I don't think they were here to hurt them. But I don't understand the scratches.
Yeah,
but,
that's a new level I have not heard of. Usually when people will report that something's going on, it's like they start seeing things or they start hearing things. They'll maybe hear a voice in the back of a room, like a gurgling voice, something like that. But I've never heard of anyone actually being physically hurt like you were. So that is definitely a new level.
Right.
So,
but I don't know if that was a Bigfoot. I couldn't see what it was. Whatever they chased out of here, never can. And the kids never mentioned monsters again after that day.
Okay.
Never again, ever. To
Gotcha.
this day, they still haven't said there's monsters here anymore.
So when you go to different places, when you get home, then do you have a protocol that you follow to make sure things are cool?
Yes, I sure do. I do that now for sure. But even before I go in, I bring holy water with me into the forest now in my backpack. I smudge my stuff. I have a liquid smudge. I have the smoke smudge. I have everything to cleanse my stuff before and after I enter the house. There's other things out in the forest, you know that.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
all it took was one trip out to Oregon to find that out really quick.
and it introduces itself to you, and it just continues. And the more you open up to the phenomena, the more that you're going to experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any? So here's the thing, because when you talk to individuals like yourself that have experienced kind of a path that people go through, which is, I mean, it's not just happening to you and one other dude. Like, this is happening to people all over the U.S. that are involved with Bigfoot. Do you have any thoughts over the last 10 years of what we might be dealing with when it comes to what Bigfoot is?
Well, that kind of, I've done this for 10 years, and I know that the Bigfoot are real. I've seen the Bigfoot. I've seen one live. I've seen 3 on thermal. I've seen spider crawling on thermal. I know they're there. I've had multiple stones thrown at me. I've had witnesses to all this stuff. I've gone to Canada and had experiences, like at Snell Grove Lake. Like you said, we had experiences with what we believe to be Sasquatch up there. I've been to Florida and had experiences of Sasquatch. I've been to Colorado. Everywhere I've gone, I've had an interaction with some kind of cryptid of some sort. So, where was I going to go with that? I always do this. I'm sorry, I'm a bad interview. I get so excited and I get all pumped up, and then I lose track. What was I? What were you saying? What was the question again? Just briefly, I'll get right back on track.
Well, in this way, I'm terrible as well because I get so involved with it that I will sometimes forget. You know how it is. But yes, I remember now. Do you have any thoughts about what we might be dealing with, and to kind of throw? So some people think that Bigfoot might be a flesh and blood creature, or there's some people that it might be something else, completely different.
Right. That's where I was going with it. So I've been all over the place, and now I've done it for 10 years, and now I've switched things up. I believe that the phenomenon is linked. I believe that it's linked to the Dogman. I believe that all the cryptids are linked. I believe the ghosts and spirits are linked. I believe Bigfoot is flesh and blood, but I also believe I believe that they come here to hunt. I am almost 100% positive that's not why they're here. But where they come from, I can guarantee you that they're not the hide and seek champions of the world. Again, before we go any further, I am not the Bigfoot guru. This is just my opinion. I do not know. This is just what I'm basing my thoughts on, what I've experienced. I believe they're from somewhere else. I don't know if it's from another dimension. I don't know if it's from outer space. I haven't seen that. I've never seen a portal. I've never seen anything, but I know that these guys, there might be hybrids that live here all the time. Maybe they live deep in caves, but there's not that many, I don't think. I just think they can come and go, and they know how to do it. And I don't know how to explain it, and I can't prove it, but that's just what I think. I believe they're flesh and blood, but I also believe that they can come and go. And I believe that sebum stuff that they're talking about, that white substance that they leave, is like a protective jelly they put on themselves to be able to do that.
Oh, man.
To be able to go back and forth. And I guarantee you, I can't, I guess I shouldn't say I can't. I bet you a cup of coffee that stuff has some kind of form of radiation. I bet you it registers with a Geiger counter. I just have this feeling, and we're planning as soon as we got it, because we carry Geiger counters now. As soon as I get a chance to test it, we're going to test it. But I bet you any amount of money, I think we might be onto something with that. But then again, that's just my opinion. So
yeah, I think you might be onto something there. I remember talking to Joe Perdue and Ron Lanham from West Virginia, and this is years ago, but they actually had a situation where there were tracks found, and they had one of those Geiger counters with them, and it actually was showing up radioactive when they would put it near the track impressions in the ground. So yeah, it definitely could be something there. When you're out in the woods, have you ever experienced anything such as not being able to move, or maybe when people think they're hit by something called infrasound, where it'll affect them physically in different ways?
I don't think so. I've been around radio frequency levels that are alarming. We bring radio frequency meters with us. At Rock Throw Alley, take for instance, I brought people up to I have a spot up there I can bring people to. They come in, rocks will fly, and our RF meters will go off the wall. I mean, they don't. We contacted the company that made them, and we're like, what does 1 dash 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 stand for? And they just wrote back, oh, that means that it doesn't go any higher. So we had a satellite communication guy reach out to us. He says, listen, I've been in satellite communications for the government for a long time. And he says, I did the background check on your guys' meters, and it's a broadband meter. He says, there's nothing in the forest that you should be picking up for that long of a time that gives off that much radiation. He said, there's nothing there. He says, there's nothing he said, if you were in a Faraday box, you guys would be cooked. So we've experienced that. I've never experienced, like you said, I've never experienced confusion or anything like that. We got lost one time at the gifting area. I mean, we did pattern hikes. I recommend pattern hikes to anybody that has a habituation area. It's a way they know you go, where you're going to go. They know where you're going, and they know where you came from, so they can get ahead of you. They can follow you, and there's no surprises. So Pattern hikes is always a good thing. But we got lost on our pattern hike one time, and we didn't know where we were. We did that pattern hike for 6 years, the same exact hike. We never ventured from it once we made it. We took a little while to make it. We had little spots, and we would mark them, and all of a sudden we made this big loop. And but we got lost one time, so I guess that counts. And when we realized we were off the path, we looked up and and there was this big X right in front of us, like a perfect X stuck in the ground. It was a crazy X. And that was probably about, I don't know, 8 years ago, probably.
I want to circle back to the radio frequencies for a little bit. So, so you're bringing these devices out into the field, and it's picking up different signals. But the guy that was looking at it was saying, if you had been exposed to this, you should be cooked. What does that mean?
Well, if you were in a Faraday, it's like a microwave. If you were in a Faraday box, so basically what a microwave is, the radiation of it was a broadband meter. So he said, if you were confined into a small little Faraday box, you would be cooked, because that the amount of radiation that we were getting from this radio frequency would have cooked us. But it was such a broad band. You're out in the open air. You're not going to get cooked. He said, but if you were in a Faraday box, you for sure would have been cooked.
That's really interesting.
While having stones thrown at us.
Yeah, that's just an extra thing. And how big were the stones that were thrown at you?
They're you can hear them. I got recordings that they come through the foliage. I would say 50 cent size, 50 cent piece sizes. I've brought people up there. I've had witnesses to all this. We had that happen in Florida. Then 2 weeks after it happened in Florida in the Green Swamp, we came back up here to Connecticut, and it happened 2 weeks later here. The same exact thing: phone manipulation, radio frequency, and stone throws. The phone thing is another thing that is crazy.
Anyone in any of those groups, did they have any weird effects like swollen legs or swollen arms or anything like that?
Not that I know of, but I've had 4 detached retinas.
Okay. Well, wow. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I've never had a traumatic injury to my head.
That's pretty intense, dude. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know why. I came back from hiking one day and my eye detached.
Wow. I'll tell you something weird that happened in Oregon just really quick. So I was out in this area in the Willamette National Forest, and we were there after this festival, and we were sitting in nylon chairs in this edge of a meadow that was very active. And there was a point where some weird stuff happened. At one point, I wasn't able to move for 5 minutes, but I started to notice that I had these bite marks on my legs, and kind of probably really bad horsefly bites, but then my legs started to swell up really bad. So it could have been a reaction. But the weird thing is I ended up having to go to the urgent care in Springfield, Oregon at the end of my trip. And the 2 doctors that were there, they were like, we have no idea what happened to your legs. This is nuts. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. It looks like someone took a stick and just beat the crap out of your legs with it. And something had really hit it hard and affected the inside of the legs and made them kind of come up to the surface. And what they printed out, they were they said it was cellulitis, but one of the possible things about cellulitis that was on the paper is they said, well, this can happen if there is a high radiation shot at you for a period of time. Yeah. I was like, okay, well, and then you kind of saying stuff like that. I'm like, man, I don't know, man. This is weird stuff, right?
Right. I was just
I don't
going to
know.
say you had exposure to radiation. I was going to, after you explained it to me, I'm like, you had radiation exposure.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think they can project it. I think it's hard to prove it. I know people think you're crazy for talking about it. And you know what? Believing in Sasquatch, the regular world thinks you're crazy. So if you're going to take it,
Right.
you might as well
Right.
go where the evidence brings you.
You
And
may
you know
as
what?
well.
And
Yeah.
that's what you got to. That's the truth. I can only tell people the truth of what's happened. Um, and hopefully they are aware. But that to me sounds like you got a little radiation burns.
Weird stuff, man. It's weird stuff. Before we head past this part, the are you able to recommend or share like the particular device you were using, like if you know the make and model of how you were able to look for radio frequencies out in the field?
Well, I would have to go get it. It's
Oh,
down.
okay.
It's a tri-field meter,
Oh,
and it
okay.
does
Yeah, yeah.
it does magnetism. It does. We're getting crazy magnetism readings now too in certain areas, and it does magnetism. It does RF, and it does one other thing. I'm not sure what it does, but you get it on Amazon. It's like 200 and something dollars,
Mm,
and I strap it right to my backpack now, and I take it out all the time when something starts happening.
that's wild.
It's triggered numerous times. It's numerous times.
Okay. Yeah, I'll need to start looking more into that. Um,
I can send it to you. I can send you the link after. I can
oh
send
yeah,
it
that'd
right
be
to
great.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So if people are into the Bigfoot topic and they watch the shows and they're familiar with the show Monster Quest back in the day and such a great series put out by Doug Hychek. But if you're into that, then usually you're into the Snell Grove Lake episodes just because they're the top of the top, right? It's such a
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
experience. But you were actually able to go up to that cabin with a group that Doug put together, correct?
yeah, yeah. We won 2 years in a row. Yeah, last year and the year before.
Oh wow, I didn't know it was 2 years in a row. That's amazing. Oh my goodness. I'm guessing that some of that you might not be able to talk about. But is there anything that you're able to share from those experiences up there?
Oh yeah, I can talk a little bit about a little bit.
Okay.
So as you guys do, all do it, and I do podcasting, and I do podcasting to meet people, and I would have never met Doug if I didn't have a podcast. And me and Doug have become really great friends. I mean, we talk all the time. We're on the phone. I call him. He can call me. And he's a really, really great guy. And he put this thing together about going up to Snelgrove. And I mean, Doug's been going there for like 30 plus years. He went there before it even was a Bigfoot thing. And so we went up there, and let me tell you, when you talk remote and they drop you off by that plane and they tell you be careful because we might not be able to come back and get you, you're not getting out of there. You're not getting out of there anytime soon. You're not hiking out because we just don't have the supplies to do it, or it's so desolate. And you're searching for noise. You're searching for light. It's just there's nothing there. And when you're sleeping at night and all of a sudden you get wrapped, or the first night we were there, the first 2 years ago, the rafters in the back of the Snow Grove cabin are 14 foot high. Something took its hand and ran it across the roof rafters, do, 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 and hit the building. And that was the first night why we were there. Woke me up. I was on one bedroom, but the bedroom that it all happened on was where Doug and Adam and were staying in. Um, we had a lot of stuff. We had a lot of recordings that week. It was a rainy week. It's a beautiful place, beautiful fishing. Um, we I don't. I really can't. I'm trying to think. I can talk to you about the outhouse because we've talked about that. So we were there all week. We've got a lot of stuff happened. And we got a lot of cool recordings, had stuff chucked at the cabin and walking on the back deck. That'll all come out. But the final day we're there, we're packed up and we're getting ready to go. And Bud Honline is with us, and he gets up first, and they left this, they called it I forgot, something smorgasbord surprise, where they put a camera in a big pile of food and they left it out in the back of the cabin, and they were hopefully going to catch it. So Bud got up and we went out, and he grabbed the plate and got the camera and brought it back in. And on his way back in, he noticed that there was there was pine cones coming over the outhouse. And he woke up Adam, I believe, and Adam came out next. And he started witnessing it. And he's like, Chris, you got to get out here and check this out. So we all have cups of coffee, and we're sitting on the back deck of Snell Grove cabin while there's pine cones being tossed at us over the outhouse. And you laugh because it was a beautiful morning. The first day the sun's out, we all have cups of coffee, and we're sitting here, and there's pine cones being tossed at us over the outhouse cabin. So I said, well, I told Doug, not Doug, I said, Bud, give me the GoPro. I'm going to go and see where it's coming from. So I took the GoPro and I walked down. It's like a 30 foot deck walkway to get to the outhouse, and I'm going down there, and I get to the outhouse, and all of a sudden I get hit by a pine cone. So I turn around at that moment in time, and I head back to the deck. I'm like, nope, I'm not going into the forest to see what's throwing those pine cones at us. So that happened, and then when we were waiting for the plane, I don't know if you've heard about the thunder knock. Me and Bud are sitting up by the cabin, and all our stuff is on the dock waiting for the plane to come, and Adam's down on the dock. The three of us are there. Doug left because he had to go to a conference. He left a couple of days early. And we're sitting down there, and we're just sitting there, and then all of a sudden, we hear this knock that sounds like something took two 30-foot trees and swung them at each other. It was an explosion. Like, it sounded like thunder. It was like, that's why I got its name. It went boom, like that. And me and Bud look at each other, and we don't say, do you hear that? We both go to each other, did you feel that? We had 3 waves of something hit us in the chest from that knock. And it was like if you were to say you were in the ocean and you had 3 waves hit you in the chest. Boom, boom, boom. That is exactly what happened after that knock happened. We felt the repercussion of that 3 times to the chest. I have never, ever heard anything. It was like a car crash, like 90 miles per hour running through the forest. But there was nothing moving. The sun was out. There was no wind. There was no trees moving. There was nothing. It was the craziest. And then Adam was down on the dock of the cabin on the lake, and he heard something from across the lake respond to it. Another knock. But that thunder knock was incredible. But of course, we were all packed up, and we didn't have anything to record it. But we had 3 witnesses to it, and it was a crazy, crazy experience.
That's incredible. I've talked to hundreds of people. I've never heard anyone say, you always hear that it hit you in the chest, but not multiple times in a wave. That's very, very unique. In your, going up there multiple times, do you feel like that's a place that is still pretty active?
Yep. I think it's hard. You got to time it. You got to time it right because it's so desolate. I mean, there's so much area up there. They could be wherever they are. So we timed it for the berries. That's what Doug suggested, and that's what we did. So the first time we got up, we had a lot of Bigfoot activity. But the second time, we had some Bigfoot activity, but we had more paranormal stuff go on the second time up there. We've come to familiar with a frequency that might be drawing these guys in, and they're using it. We know that they're using it because it's been picked up across America. It's 40 Hertz. It's a hummingbird. It sounds like a hummingbird wing. So if anybody's listening to your program and has recordings of a hummingbird in their habituation area, it possibly is a Bigfoot. Now, David Ellis is is the head of all this project. He takes all the recordings and we put them through all the analysis, and we're getting the same frequencies everywhere. And I came up with it here because my wife was having experience with her hummingbird feeder. And there's a long story short, I did research into hummingbirds and found out what was going on. And I said 40 hertz, and I went to Doug with it. He goes, well, you're not going to believe this. And he called David Ellis right on the phone while we were on the phone, and he's like, you got to tell David your story. So I told him the story about how I thought the Bigfoot were using 40 hertz. And he says, you're not going to believe this, but there's a guy called Tristan Yolton who recorded a Bigfoot eating a jar of peanut butter, and while he was eating it, they called it the Bigfoot purr. He was actually purring or humming while he was eating the peanut butter. He goes, guess what the purr was? What hertz level? I'm like, you got to be kidding. It was 40 hertz. He's like, it was 40 hertz. So we put it out all across America, and we've gotten like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 recordings back from other people now that they said they've had it recorded, and they're all 40 hertz.
Oh my goodness.
So this is something to pay attention to while you're in your areas. If you hear a hummingbird sound, and when we were just down in Florida, no lie, I brought a 40 hertz tuning fork. We just did a show on it actually on my channel last night. I brought I'd use a 40 hertz tuning fork now I bring in my backpack, and I ran it down in the green swamp at the fridge area that he has, his habituation area. And I put it in my backpack, and we packed out, and we started leaving. And Chris is going, hey, man, why are you playing with that thing again? I said, what thing? What am I playing with? What thing? He says, that tuning fork. Why do you got it out again? I'm like, it's still in my backpack, Chris. He goes, listen, we were getting it back. Something in the forest, in this green swamp, was sending that. I got my hair standing straight up right now. Something was sending that 40 hertz back at us.
Oh, no way. No
and
way.
Then,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And then 15 minutes later, we were approached and growled at.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dudes. Okay, so let me make sure I got this right. So you had actually activated the tuning fork, and it was giving it back to you, and then 15 minutes later, stuff started to hit off.
Yep. They came right up to us. It was 10, 15 feet away from and growled at us. And then it did, I call it a compact bluff charge. It was like very short and very forceful, and we knew how big it was when he did it. He just like jumped at us. And we're like, 3 miles into the green swamp in Florida, we're like, nope, this is enough. This is it telling us it's time for us to go. But it hit us back with that frequency. So for the people that don't think this frequency thing isn't something to be paying attention to, it definitely needs to be paid attention to.
Has this been attempted in other places in the U.S. yet?
Yep, we're testing it.
Okay.
It's worked here in Connecticut. I ran it up with my team up at Rock Throw Alley, and we had 4 of them come in and throw rocks at us. And something big came in that day, something real big, the biggest we've ever heard before up there. You can see it. You can see that day on my channel. It's all on my channel to see. People can hear the rocks flying in, and you can hear the tuning fork that we used, and witnesses to all of it. Yeah, everything I tell you, I have witnesses to.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've even had a blacked out chopper over my house because of the hummingbird stuff. That's a whole nother story. That'll take a long time to tell you that one.
Absolutely.
But that was a crazy 3 weeks, the craziest 3 weeks of my entire life. And my wife witnessed it all. And she'll never go back in the forest. She hasn't been back in the forest in 7 years.
Oh, wow, really? That's wild.
Yeah, nope.
Okay.
I ruined it for her because she used to go. She'd go hiking by herself. She was exercise nut. She loved walking the paths, and she won't even go. She won't even go in it anymore.
So one more question about the tuning fork, just because it's so unique. So when I used to play guitar, and it was just a handheld, metal, just a regular metal tuning fork, and you hit it once, and it would make a sound. That's what we're talking about, not hooked up to anything, right? When you're in the Green Swamp or Connecticut, and you're doing this, you're just hitting a normal everyday tuning fork, and it's coming back.
40 hertz.
That's so
40
wild,
hertz.
dude. That is so wild.
Yeah. So we recorded it and we call blasted it one day at Snell Grove. And Doug's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing with that? Turn that off."
Turn that off. We're gonna have 50 Sasquatch
Because he knows
here.
what the 40 right, he knows what the 40 hertz does.
Oh yeah.
That night we're sitting in the cabin and orbs are flying all over the lake. Orbs are flying all around the cabin. We're getting voices coming through the security cameras. Yeah. It was wild. I've never seen an orb before until that night. We're seeing big white lights out on Snell Grove Lake. Oh, yeah, man. My hair is standing straight up again right now. I got goosebumps like none other.
And this only started happening after you tried the 40 hertz tuning fork thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
Yeah, we only did it once, one night, and we never did it again.
You know, I wonder... This is where I wish I knew more stuff than Bigfoot, because I really focus in on Bigfoot. But you know how, like, with the whole UAP thing, they're saying that there's some certain, like, dog whistle thing where they're able to bring them down. Have you heard that yet?
Yeah, I've heard that.
I wonder if it's related in some way, or maybe it's not it's probably different, but I don't know. Maybe someone can put it in the comments if they know specifics about how that works. But that's wild, dude. That is wild. Yeah, I would maybe even throw it for entertainment purposes only, and be careful if you do try that as well. Man, that's crazy. I cannot wait.
Right, be careful.
Yeah,
because it's not tested yet. We don't know what they do, or if they're going to get mad about it, or if they're. I don't think they like coming in. I think you know Kumbo Baker, right?
Oh yeah, I've talked to Kumbo. Yep.
So Kumbo has done the frequency thing. He's a believer in the frequency thing. He uses what was the thing that he used?
Shofar,
a horn.
Yeah,
the shofar. There you go. The shofar. He thinks that the frequency of that level is the young ones aren't able to do infrasound yet. So when because 40 hertz is almost there, another 20 hertz and you're infrasound. So you can, you can't only hear a hummingbird when it's next to your ears.
Wait, I
when
think
he's flying or buzzing around.
I missed something really. I think I missed something. So you're saying that 40 hertz is very close to the infrasound?
Yes, 20 hertz and lower is infrasound.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So 40 hertz is very, very low. You like a hummingbird. You don't hear hummingbirds flying around your yard. You hear them when they're right next to your ear.
Dang.
So it's a very low vibration. So for anything to pick that up far away and come in is crazy.
Dude, this is why I try to catch your shows when I can, because the stuff that you put out is really, really cool stuff. And it's no surprise that you're hanging out with Doug and you're involved with stuff up there in Snelgrove, because you are always making really cool connections. And how can people, because you just switched shows, right?
Yeah, I just rebranded my show because I'm going to go and investigate it all. I'm going to start doing haunted hotels, and I just think it's all linked, and I think the frequency things are linked to it all, and so I call it Real American Monsters is what I'm calling the new. I know Sasquatch is real. Like I said, I've seen them. I've interacted with them. I've done it, and it's time to try and link other stuff. I'm not giving up on Sasquatch. I'm going. Like I said, I'll be up at Rock Throw Alley again, and we're going back to Snow Grove next year, and stuff like that. So that the Sasquatch thing isn't done. And I got a lot of friends that still do Sasquatch, and we were actually invited to go to the reservation in New Mexico next year and camp out on the res with one of the tribal elders, and I'm pretty excited about that. And there's going to be pictographs on the rocks there, and he says he's seen the UFOs and the Bigfoot come in and out there, and I'm really looking forward to that one too.
That's awesome.
I love to travel. I mean, I love to meet new people, and And you learn a lot. You learn a lot from everybody. Again, I can't give all the credit for this because I'm not the one that comes up with all this. It's a team effort, and we're all learning from each other. And so, step by step, we're doing. There's something with this frequency thing, and so we'll continue looking at it.
That's great. I hope maybe even something with that might even, I would hope maybe end up in some future doc from Doug, but crossing our fingers. It's going to be, I am psyched for that to come out eventually at Legend Meet Science too. That'll be good stuff. But in our time that we have left today, and thank you so much for spending some time with us. But you had mentioned that you think that there's a hypothesis you have that there might be a connection between Bigfoot and Dogman.
Well, I think, I've talked to a lot of people, and I'm starting to learn a little bit about the Dogman.
Mm-hmm.
I just had Jody Cook on the show the other night, and I learned something from him. I had Vic on the show 2 weeks ago and learned some stuff from him. So I'm a newbie to the Dogman, but they both said, you can't have one without the other. And I'm trying to figure out what they meant by that. So, but I think the Dogmen do the same thing. I think they come and go. I mean, because if you had an 8-foot dog, walking on two legs, and people would see them more often if they were here all the time. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
I just think these creatures are interdimensional. And I can't prove it, and people might again think that you're crazy for it, but I think they know how to use doorways if there's doorways. Look at all what they're talking about in the Grand Canyon right now. There's a portal in the Grand Canyon that's being protected by the government that they're not letting people in.
Really?
Yeah. There's a big thing to do about that. There was a guy on YouTube, and his name was the Desert Drifter, I believe, and he was a guy that was hiking all the old back in New Mexico and the Grand Canyon. His favorite place to hike was in the Grand Canyon. He discovered something in the Egyptians left in there. I think his name was Desert Drifter, but he ended up getting in a fatal car crash after he started discovering all this stuff, and it kind of makes you wonder. But yeah, they're saying that there's a portal in the Grand Canyon that's being protected by the government, but I don't know. I mean, that's all conspiracy theory there. I'm new to all that stuff, but the Dogman and the Bigfoot, I think, come from the same places, and I just think that their worlds they don't have the food. I think they come here to hunt, and
Sure.
I just really believe that. But there's aliens out there too, and they're walk among us. The government's telling us that now. Congress is telling us that they're walk among us, and that's kind of freaky.
It is crazy.
But nobody's listening.
Well, that's the thing, because everyone, and we'll be careful what we say, but at least I will.
Right.
I think people right now are so shell shocked because of what has happened in the last few years that the government could say anything, and most of the population would be like, "Yeah, I don't care. Like, I don't even know what's happening anymore." Like, they're literally saying, yes, there's UFOs and UAPs and aliens, and there's different kinds, and here's all the info about them, and it's all out there. You're right. And people just either don't care or they don't even realize what's being said. So,
right. They even admitted that there's interdimensional travel. They were asked, can humans make the journey? They're like, no, we are not built for it. I mean, it's just the information that they're putting out that people I just don't get it. I don't get it. But, oh well.
Would you ever want to go on a expedition that is solely focused on going after Dogman?
Yes. I was actually talking to Jody about that. Actually going to LBL.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know if I want to come face to face with one, but I would love to hear their howls or whatever they do. And Al Santoriga, he knows where there's a den up in New York, I guess, of some sort. And
Al has
so
some
yeah,
wild stuff. Yeah, I've talked to him about that place in New York and some weird stuff going on wherever that
oh
is.
yeah,
No doubt about it.
I went there.
Oh, you
I
did?
went there
Oh
and
man.
had some crazy stuff at to the sacred site.
Wow.
Oh yeah, dude, I had an attachment. I was like
Oh really?
frozen cold, and the compass was laid at my feet and it was spinning. And every time he had the dowsing rods out, he would walk away from me, and the dowsing rods kept on pointing back to me and pointing back to me and pointing back to me. And the clouds that came in that night were like, remember the Poltergeist movie, the pool scene?
Okay.
It was like the craziest night, one of the craziest nights. I mean, this keeps on going and going and going. And then on our way out, we had stones thrown at us. But I
Wow.
had an attachment at that place, and it was why it was. He had a t-shirt on, I guess, like a vest, and I was in winter clothes, and I put on a pair of gloves. I mean, something had me.
Oh, that's how cold you
Yeah,
were. Yeah. Wow.
I went to the sacred site, and it was a crazy night. I was supposed to stay at Al's that night. I went home. I drove all the way back to Connecticut.
Oh man. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had some crazy stuff go on for sure.
Do you have a place where you it's kind of like your bucket place that you would love to go to see if you could have some Bigfoot interactions, or have you been able to hit everywhere that you've wanted to go so far?
I would really love to go to the Sierra Sound site,
Mm,
but that's not our site to go to.
right.
But bucket list, no. And I mean, I just want to go and try to see all I can and experience all I can. I love the interactions. Um, but no, Snell Grove was probably my bucket list, and I made it there. And we're going to go back again next year. And like I said, and we'll see what happens. You eat walleye every night up there. It's such a beautiful place. You fish all day, and but you got to be. Well, last time we went up there, they had another break-in 2 weeks prior.
Really? Oh
They went,
man.
yeah, they went in through the same door. And even the guys that were loaded the planes were talking about it, and you're like, oh geez, Snell Grove, we're always up at Snell Grove fixing stuff, always up there. And then once they finally fixed the cabin, 2 weeks later, there was a tree that was fell on or pushed or whatever onto the cabin itself.
Oh no way. Whoa.
Yep. So it's very uneasy up there because you have nowhere to go. We have boats, and you got to try to make it out to the boat if something bad happens. And they come in
Mm-hmm.
because they've been in there twice that we know of. So,
That's
but yeah,
wild.
no,
Wild stuff.
we had Ron on the show one time, and we talked to him after the show. He said, we would ask him if we could go. We would take him up there. We'd pay for everything to get to. And he said it wasn't his site; it was his buddy's site, and we agreed with him. He said,
Right.
"Yeah, we
Yeah.
understand. We understand. You always got to ask permission."
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we left it. So
Ask permission to the people that discovered the site.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's their
Yeah.
area.
Right. Right.
Yes,
Right. Right.
yes.
Yeah.
Just like Snell Grove, that's Doug's place. So
Exactly.
if
Yeah. Yeah.
you talked to Doug about going up there, and he wanted to go, so he went up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh man,
and
Chris.
his best buddy Joey, he's such a great guy too. That is Doug's right hand man, Joe, and it was just a great trip, and we built a camaraderie between everybody that was there. Everybody went back the second year that was there the first year, same group.
I love it.
But
Oh man.
next, we're one guy short. We're only going up there with 5, and there's room for 6. So
Wild stuff, man. Wild
mm,
stuff. Yeah, you never know,
yeah,
right? Man, Dude, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. I mean, I learned a lot more than I was expecting to. I've got some stuff to look into after this one, but before you head out, do you mind, sharing again how people can keep up to date with your show and what you've got going on and all that good stuff?
All right, so you guys can all find me on the Untold Radio Network. That's Doug's channel on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern with the podcast Real American Monsters. And I am just starting back up on my channel on YouTube. It's still called Discover Sasquatch because it's to change your name and everything, or your URL or whatever they call it. It's such a hassle and it takes so long, but it's under Discover Sasquatch. But the name of the name you'll see is Real American Monsters. And we're going to start putting mini docs out. Like I told the story about Lured, my first interaction. That's going to be episode 1 of the mini docs. It's almost done. I'm filming it, editing everything it myself, and that's going to be out soon. And we're going to start doing do-it-yourself videos, and we're going to start putting out the little campouts that we're going to do. And then I'm headed up to New York to the Shanley with Alfred, and we're going to do the haunted hotel investigation, and that'll be episode 2 of Lured. So you can go over there and please sub. I need 30 more subs to be 4,000. So, that's basically where I'm at. And if you guys if you know anything about the 40 Hertz and you got hummingbird recordings, or you got that buzz recorded in your habituation, you can email me at realamericanmonsters@gmail.com, and we'll send it off to David, and David will take care of everything, and we'll let you know. And I've gotten like 6 people that sent me recordings and gone out, and they've all come back 40 Hertz and the humming sound in their Bigfoot areas. So it's a thing. It's something going on, and there's interest in it. There's other people that are very interested in it.
Oh, man. That's really exciting stuff. It'll be exciting to see where that goes, the whole 40 Hertz thing. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been real fun talking to you tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremiah, for having me.
Just wanted to take a minute to say thank you for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. Chris's story is the kind that shakes you, not just because of the growls in the forest or the pine cones thrown in the dark, but because something followed him home and it didn't stop at his door. So huge thanks to Chris for sharing a decade of encounters and for reminding us how deep and strange this rabbit hole goes. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the bell icon so you don't miss a single episode, and share this with a friend who's curious about Bigfoot, the paranormal, or the weird side of Connecticut. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please be sure to follow the show, and if you can, leave a quick review. It helps more people find us. Now, if you've had a Bigfoot encounter, especially around Connecticut, the Green Swamp, Snell Grove, or if you have any more information about using this particular frequency, I'd love to hear from you. So please send me an email at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. And don't forget, Sasquatch Summerfest is coming up July 11th through the 12th in Oak Ridge, Oregon. Bigfoot Society listeners can get a 2-day pass for the price of a 1-day admission with code BFS at checkout. So grab your tickets now at www.sasquatchsummerfest.com. And thanks again for being part of the Bigfoot Society. Until next time, keep your bag packed, trust your instincts, and never stop asking what else might be out there. And see you in the woods.